All right, so here we are. We're doing the most valuable asset part two. Basically, this is just people. So we're gonna get right into this. Joseph Gancher with Gancher Enterprise, and so without further ado, we got a lot to cover. So off we go. So whenever you're thinking about how people are coming and going and what's actually happening, when you're linking influence and leadership and responsibility leadership, what it comes down to is how do you really influence others to truly be motivated as well, working on their personal development? Well, what is this all about? So here's the thing. When you have an organization, you're trying to actually figure out, okay, this is what we want to try and accomplish. This is what our goal is. There's a major gap in between people that are just like, okay, I'm here to just do my job. I'm going to leave 5 minutes early. I'm just going to, do the bare minimums, when we know that the bare minimums are not actually going to do anything. People have to actually take it on upon themselves to actually develop their interpersonal skills. So that could be critical thinking, that could be awareness, that could be outlook, it could be many different things. The way how you do it is through encouragement. You got to encourage them. If you don't, the most ideal situation is going to have the worst outcomes, regardless of what your goal is and whatever you're trying to achieve, because you create that culture of whatever that might be through either encouraging or disencouraging people. It's either working for you or against you. It's always going to be working though. So you can decide on how this is actually going to happen. So believe in them when they don't even believe in themselves. And even more so, you got to be able to really push in, and even more push in when they are thinking about it, but they don't even no, I don't even have a hope. So if they think that they can believe in themselves, great. But when they're not even there, you're thinking, oh my goodness, you got to be kidding me. We're going to get just annihilated by, it could be that presentation, that sports team. It could be the competitor. You are literally controlling exactly what the outcome is with belief. So if you encourage them and you believe in them, it's not going to be a negative outcome. I can guarantee you that. However, it will take a significant amount of work. So people are molded into what they actually become from the most influential sources that speak to them or what they say to them. See, here's the thing. You have to understand, no matter what, you're a product of your environment. If you're a product of your environment, then you have to make sure that if your environment is either positive or negative, you have to control it. You have to have boundaries. You have to have certain standards and certain things mentally in order to put these things into this area that is not going to affect me in that area. I can tell you right now, I'm still working on this. This is not something that I can say, oh, this is not a problem. This is going to be a constant struggle. You want to know why? Because when you're looking down the road in 6 months or 60 years, the only way that you're going to be positive is how you continuously cultivate your mind. You have to continuously work on your mind. For some strange reason, it just tends to go into a default setting of just you know what? I just want to just take it easy today. I just want to, and then you fill in the blank, and it's not productive. It's not effective. It's more destructive. And you're just why did I do that? I didn't get anything done that I wanted to get done, and I feel gross. Well, that's the human condition to a certain degree. So taking the leadership of a coach or mentor, you're well, okay, this is pretty interesting. So the best ones, believe it or not, are going to make sure that the player or the mentee is actually better in their mind than what they actually are physically. That's what a coach or a mentor actually can do to the person who's either the player or the mentee. And why is this so important? Because here's the thing. I don't know how many different sports teams are out there that actually accomplished great things with so-called, from an outside perspective, that's just average talent. They're not going to do anything great. It's never going to happen. You're going to be put through a very, very emotional roller coaster if that coach or that mentor completely invests into that team or into that group of people to the extent that they are actually going to become better than what they actually are. And then what is the outcome? So in an organization or team situation, it is these types of leaders that make the environments that they are a part of a real growing and flourishing asset to that organization or company. Because what happens is, now this is one of those things that you're like, no, there's no way that this is actually going to happen. Yeah, well, it flourishes into some of the greatest environments that can ever be made. And you're like, what are you talking about? Some of the most unexpected growth, not patterns, but say seasons or spurts happen because of that. Just think about that for an example. Because in these types of organizations, you have encouraging leaders that make environments so strong that they are a part of a real growing and flourishing environment into something that is so great that it is just a beautiful thing. So many dynasty teams are built this way and are able to create a culture for the next generation. So you'll see this time and time again in pro-am sports, kind of like university or college. You see they got players that are only going to be on there, and that's a small snippet of players right there, going to be on there for 4 years. Sometimes they're even moving different schools, so that could even be even much more less. Okay, but here's the thing: when you have a coach or a mentor that continuously cultivates the so-called interpersonal workings of that team and is very diligent on actually saying, okay, this is how we're going to do things, and they just continue to just build them up internally, the next generation of players that will rise through the ranks in that particular arena will just be phenomenal. It'll literally just be phenomenal. And that's how you get certain teams in certain colleges at certain levels that can win championships year after year, and day in and day out, can just pull in some of the most wildest upset wins. So people buy into the leadership before they buy into the person's leadership. So here's the thing. You're like, well, what are you talking about? Well, you have to be able to buy into the leadership. You got to buy into the idea of leadership before you can actually buy into the person's leadership. So the reality of where loyalty actually comes from, and it's rooted into the organization, is that you cannot expect loyal people to emerge when the expectation is not even there. Because it is the leader themselves, yet it is not able to fully fulfill what they're called to do. So basically, what it is here, if you have a leader that is not capable of actually leading, this is where bad things happen. This is where you have sabotage. This is where you have manipulation. This is where you have many, many things happen because of insecurities. It's just like having a 5-year-old kid in a 50-year-old man's body. It's just ridiculous. Turning dials on, just intentionally just doing some really bizarre stuff. So therefore, the leader must declare everything through relationships, such as authority and rights. The relationships are the foundation that creates what the organization's vision is. So here's the thing. The leader is literally declaring everything off of, I've built these relationships very strong and very solid and wide foundations, because those are the relationships that are going to have the ability to establish that authority when you're like, okay, well, we need to get this done and it's going to get done. That's how it gets done. The rights, because the people feel protected and they feel like as if they have the support of who whoever that leader is, of the supervisor or just whoever's responsible for that group. It doesn't matter like the title, because there's so many different titles out there. Okay, so you have to just be able to really accept and run with that. And so people will never care about how much you know until they actually see with the leader's actions how much you care. So basically, I don't care how much you talk. It's all about what you're able to do with your actions. Does your walk meet the same path as your walk does? End of story. With that being said, we're going to be here with part 3, most valuable asset, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, work hard and stay humble.